An investigation by the Sunday Times has revealed the identity of the 13 Russian commanders whose troops committed war crimes against Ukrainian civilians in the Ukrainian town of Bucha, on the outskirts of Kiev, in early 2022. The investigation, which was conducted by independent lawyers and investigators using open-source intelligence sources and was corroborated by the Sunday Times, is the first to present evidence against all of the high-ranking Russian soldiers believed to be associated with the Bucha massacre. More than 80 soldiers under the combined command of the 13 officers have already been identified, though many more believed to have taken part in the Bucha atrocities remain unknown. The commanders identified by the Sunday Times, several of whom had already been named by other outlets. The names of the suspected commanders were confirmed using information from legal experts at the Global Rights Compliance Foundation. At the top of the list is Colonel General Alexander Chayko, who commanded the Eastern Military District at the start of the war in Ukraine. Prior to this, he led Russian forces in Syria and was sanctioned by the UK for ordering strikes on hospitals and schools in Idlib, resulting in the deaths of 1,600 civilians. One of the mid-level commanders was Sergei Chabarikhin, now a major general, who at the time reported directly to Chayko. He commanded the 76th Guards Air Assault Division, part of the Eastern Military District. Like Chayko, he served in Syria in support of the Bashar al-Assad regime. The troops under his command allegedly committed most of the war crimes in Bucha, including executions, torture, and mass looting. Both Chayko and Chabarikhin have been charged with committing war crimes. Reporting to them was Artyom Gorodilov, commander of the 234th Air Assault Regiment. Gorodilov has not been served with a suspicion notice, but sources within the security service of Ukraine said they believe he was complicit in the crimes committed by his subordinates. An analysis of Ukrainian legal documents showed that troops under his command were accused of committing at least 40 war crimes during the month-long occupation of Bucha, the highest number among all units stationed in the area. The crimes included killings, looting and rape. Documents listing Russian officers by their call signs included evidence that he operated under the alias Urun. Lieutenant Colonel Azatbek Omerbakov was one of the most brutal commanders deployed in Bucha during the occupation. He is the head of the 64th Separate Guards Motor Rifle Brigade, an elite infantry unit. He had previously been identified and sanctioned by 8 different jurisdictions, and a suspicion notice had also been issued against him. The UK sanctions list accuses Omerbakov of direct command over troops involved in the killing of civilians in Bucha. The US stated that he personally committed gross human rights violations, including extrajudicial killings. The article also mentions Nikolai Sokovikov, a 28-year-old lieutenant of the 5th Guards Tank Brigade, who was convicted in absentia and sentenced to life imprisonment after a trial in Kiev. Using Russian military archives, legal experts determined that Sokovikov's commander was Colonel Andrei Kondrov, head of the 5th Guards Tank Brigade, who is listed among the 13 commanders. He was identified by the SSU, although no personal suspicion notice has been issued against him. Other Russian commanders named in the article include Colonel General Alexander Sanchik, Colonel General Valery Solodchuk, Colonel Yuri Medvedev, Lieutenant Colonel Denis Suvorov, Colonel Alexei Tolmashet, Major General Vladimir Seliverstov, Major General Vadim Pankov, and Colonel Sergei Karasev. Recall: in early 2022, Russian forces occupied the town of Bucha, located some 30 kilometers northwest of Kiev, for 29 days, during which time they are accused of committing a series of war crimes, including extrajudicial executions, rape, torture, and looting. The bodies of more than 500 civilians have been recovered from Bucha since the town was recaptured by Ukrainian forces at the end of March 2022, including over 100 bodies buried in a mass grave outside a local Orthodox Christian church. Human rights watchdogs have described the actions of Russian soldiers at Bucha as ethnic cleansing and a crime against humanity. Moscow has alternately claimed that the attack was committed by British special forces and accused Kiev of provocatively staging a war crime in order to smear the Russian army's reputation. The Ukrainian army surrounded the Russians in 3 directions in the Pokrovsk direction and blocked their retreat routes. Russian military correspondents reported this. According to reports, Ukrainian drones are hitting Russian military columns, depriving them of support. During this time, the Ukrainian army has liberated more than 330 square kilometers of territory, and the Russian army's positions have been cut off from logistical support. Military correspondents report that the additional forces sent are also being destroyed. Recall, active redeployment of Russian troops is observed in the Pokrovsk direction. The enemy continues to strengthen its positions, using temporarily occupied Donetsk as the main transit center for equipment and personnel. This was reported by Petro Andriashenko, head of the Center for the Study of Occupation. At least 10 trucks with ammunition, buses with manpower, and accompanying cars were recorded by our sources on the march from Russia through Donetsk and further in the direction of Pokrovsk, the report says. It is noted that all equipment was without tactical markings, a trend previously observed in Mariupol. According to experts, markings may be applied after arrival at combat zones to conceal the real scale and routes of redeployment. Colonel Valentin Manko, head of Ukraine's Assault Troops Command, confirmed that Russian forces near Dobropilya have been cut off for 3 weeks, and there are now 3 distinct pockets under Ukrainian control. With Ukrainian drones swarming overhead and artillery covering every approach, these Russian formations face the same fate as those in the first northern cauldron that was cleared already. Overall, Ukraine's multi-layer campaign around Pokrovsk is paying off. By combining airstrikes, drone warfare, and persistent raids against Russian depots and supply routes, Ukrainian commanders have choked Russia's ability to sustain its offensives. Ammunition shortages, disrupted logistics, and depleted reserves have left Russian units unable to consolidate and even hold on to their positions. The result is more territory being retaken by Ukraine, and more isolated pockets of Russian soldiers left to die.